so honored to have our next guest. He's a Tony Award-winning triple threat with a career spanning 5 decades. His performances transcend time and have been woven into the fabric of this country's artistic legacy. Please welcome the legendary Ben Vereen.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
This is the Rio for the Rio, you know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
Oh, Ben, we are so happy to have you on the show. Now, you recently celebrated some huge milestones, your 75th birthday, and also 50 years in the business.
Wow.
Tell us, what memories do you have about your very first show?
It's a good question because not many people ask me about my very first show. Most people think it's Pippin, all right?
Right.
It's not. Or they'll say Jesus Christ Superstar. Not. My first show was right out of high school, and I was doing a show at a place called the Greenwich Muse Theater, directed by a wonderful African-American director named Vinette Carroll.
Wow.
She was doing a production of a show named The Prodigal Son, written by a guy named Langston Hughes.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, that's
Yeah.
historic.
I got to have dinner. He came to the theater, and I was in an altercation. I was young and fiery in those days. And I'm coming out of the backstage, and he says, where's Benjamin? He says, are you Benjamin? I said, yeah, I'm Benjamin. What do you want? He said, I think I better buy you dinner. My name is Langston Hughes.
Oh, my
Did
goodness.
that stop you in your tracks?
And we became friends. He became friends. He took me to Harlem, introduced me to Harlem, and gave me some books about the Renaissance and talked about the Renaissance and what we've done through the Renaissance and our revolution of culture and the arts.
Oh, wow.
And his travels. Oh, my God.
You know, you have become close with so many wonderful and talented people over the years, one of which is a friend of our show, Mr. Glenn Turman. Tell us about the friendship.
That's my buddy. Glenn and I met in high school, high school for the performing arts. He was in the drama department. I was in the dance department. And we formed a band, a steel drum band called Utopian 5.
Wow.
Ooh, we were bad. We would play everywhere. We have our steel drums, ding, 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 ding. And Glenn had this old DeSoto. And the West Side Highway had an upper deck in those days. And there was 5 of us sitting in the car who were Utopian 5. We sit in the car and we park on the upper level. And we looked out and we said, man, let's go to Hollywood. Glenn said, yeah, but this car ain't gonna make it.
Well, let's just say that
Years later, we end up in Hollywood. And I came to Hollywood to do a show called Hair. And he was already out there. And we hooked up again. Matter of fact, now he lives right around the corner from my daughter, Karan Davis, who had the Underground Museum. And is an artist of her own right.
Well, we could never forget your iconic role as Chicken George in Roots, which earned you an Emmy nomination. How did that impact your life? Because you had been dancing, but this was like television. How did that impact you?
Yeah.
I had read in a book, a magazine called Reader's Digest. There was a book being published or put out called Roots by Alex Haley.
Yes.
And I heard that ABC had the courage to put on a miniseries. I, like a lot of African Americans in America, wanted to be a part of that particular production. So I went to my agent and I said, Roots, man, black man, gotta do Roots.
Right.
He said, Ben, and he said, look, you're a song and dance man. He said, they're looking for actors. He said, nah, I wouldn't, no. I said, but he said, look, there's a gig for you in Chicago. Go do the gig. So I go to Chicago. And there's a group that opens for me is these sisters named Sister Sledge.
Oh.
They had a new album out called We Are Family.
Yep.
We go down to Savannah, Georgia. We're playing at a high school. And I'm doing my character, Bert Williams, in blackface, talking about the oppression of black people and what we had to do in order to be on the American stage. And we didn't want to see our skin. We had to wear blackface. So I'm doing this number. And after the show was over, there's a knock on my door. And the guy is standing there, was a guy named Stan Margulies. He says, Ben Vereen? I said, yes. He said, my name is Stan Margulies. We're here doing the opening of a show called Roots, and I want you to be my Chicken George.
Wow.
Wow.
And the rest
I
is
want to be a
history.
part of it. I don't care if I was on the ship going, let me out of here, let me out of here. I want to be a part of it. I just want to be a part of that. And we had no idea the impact it would have on the world. No, the reason for doing Roots was the fact that when I grew up, there was what seemed like one paragraph: you were a slave and Lincoln freed you. Well, Alex Haley went to Africa, went to Jufere, back to where Kunta Kinte's family was, found his roots, and he came back on a freighter where he slept in the hull of the ship to simulate what it must have been like, and he wrote this book about our crossing. I went back to Jufere, and I stood on what they called it King's Island. It's now called Kunta Kinte Island. It was King James, now it's Kunta Kinte Island, because a friend of mine named Chaz Guess, who's an artist, talked to the president. And so I went back to the cell where they held us, and I would hold my hand against the wall, these little cells where these warriors were stuffed in, and families were scattered on the island. This little island, it was called A Door to No Return.
Wow.
I put my hands on the wall and wept like a baby.
Wow.
And this is my wailing wall.
Wow.
This is my wailing wall. Whew.
So powerful, so powerful. Ben, not only are you a singer, dancer, and actor, but you're the godfather of another triple threat, R&B singer Usher. We want to know, what's some advice have you shared with him over the years, and how has it been watching his career evolve the way it has?
Employment.
I hear that.
Don't forget employment. And, my daughter brought Quran. She brought one of my daughters. I have three. One Quran is a baby. She brought Usher to me on what in those days was VHS.
Yeah.
And I was doing cruise ships, and she was backing me up with her sisters, Kamara and Malika. And I put the VHS in, and I'm looking at it, and I see this kid. And he's running. She said, "Dad, what do you think of him?" I said, "Well, first of all, he's got to pull up his pants. That's the first thing he's got to do." "Oh, but he's so talented, Dad. He's so talented." Next thing I know, all of my dance tapes are off my shelf. She's gone to Atlanta. She's going to Spelman, and she's taking all my tapes with her. And now I get this call, "Oh, Dad, could you come down and work with him?" I said, "Work with him?" So I went down to Atlanta, and he was doing a TV show. I worked with him on that. And one day I went down, and he said, "Pops, I want you to hear something." And he played "You Make Me Wanna."
Oh.
And I turned to my daughter and I said, "Stand back." She said, "Why?" I said, "He's about to blow up." I'm watching him today. He's in Las Vegas doing residency.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm so proud of this young man. I went to the show and I saw his moves. I saw what he did, his production. I'm proud. I watch my children now blossoming.
Yes.
And it serves me well because I see what I've done.
Right.
Oh.
And they are a reflection of my dreams for them.
Okay, Mr. Vereen, you played Will's biological father on an iconic and powerful episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And now there's a new Bel-Air with a lot of the original cast making cameos. Would you be open to making an appearance?
Employment, call me.
Employment.
We would love that. Yes.
In '92, I had 3 accidents one day. I was driving on PCH Highway, and a tree ran out on the highway and hit my car for no reason. I hit my head on the roof of the car. I was walking home later that morning. I had a stroke. Was hit by an SUV, a truck. And I was pretty much, the doctors looked at me and said there'd be 3 years if I'd ever walk again. As far as singing and dancing, they told me, forget about it. So when they sent in the occupational therapists, I thought there were people to show me how to get a new occupation. I didn't know they were the ones who work with the fine motor skills. To make a long story even longer, I ended up at a place called Kessler in New Jersey, where Bonnie Evans was the CEO. And my management put together a show for me before I went to see the show that I used to do, something I used to do. So my birthday, I went to see Jelly's Last Jam. And I was in a collar and I was on cane. And Gregory comes out and he finishes the show. He's getting a standing ovation. He stops his ovation and he introduces me. Tears are coming down. He comes out and he talks to my manager. He says, when will he be ready?
Oh.
She said, what do you mean? She said, well, when he's ready, there's a role for him in the show of Chimney Man. If he can be ready by April 3rd. I went back to Kessler and I told the CEO, she said, well, let me go down. Let's take some therapists down and take a look at the show. She came back, she said, we can do this. I was walked on stage in Jelly's Last Jam 10 months later.
Wow.
10 months later. That's why I tell people prayer. Prayer works, people.
Prayer works, and
Prayer
you're
works.
the
Prayer
ultimate
works.
showman.
Always works. And so that was one. The next one, I got a call from Will Smith to do Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Then I got a call from Bob Burton to do Star Trek.
Look at that.
Won't he do it?
He will do it all the time, okay?
Every time.
Every time.
Never fails.
And everything you do is iconic, and that's what we love about you, Mr. Vereen.
Thank you.
Speaking of Will Smith, he got everyone talking about the incident that happened at last week's Oscars ceremony after Chris Rock made a joke. What's your feeling on that?
They're both my sons.
Yes.
I was Will Smith's father, and I'm Chris Rock's father. So I'm sitting and watching this, and as a father, I was shocked. As a theatrical father, I was shocked. And I don't know why it happened. I'm not an authority on that. But I know one thing. We as a people must support one another. I'm sorry that happened. And I hope that we get past it and move on the direction that we were sent here to do. And that's to be brilliance. Brilliant. And all I can say is, let's pray for them.
Yes.
Let's pray for them. Let's pray for the family. Let's pray for the Williams family.
Well,
yes,
let's pray for
absolutely.
ourselves.
Absolutely.
You know, let's keep the good vibes going.
Yeah.
That was an incident. And you know, I have my personal feelings about it. I think they should have cut as soon as Will got up. I think the camera should have cut, and we never should have seen that. But we did. Since we have now, don't forget the brilliance of the man. Oh my God, Will's worked so hard. And Chris worked so hard to be where they are today. So let us not forget their genius.
I never thought about that they could have cut. You are absolutely right, Mr. Vereen. They could have cut.
If it was another producer, they would have cut.
Thank you for having an opinion and sharing it with us. Let's talk about your first series regular role on the sitcom Be Positive. I mean, how does it feel to add that to your long list of accomplishments, Mr. Vereen?
That's great. I'm having the time of my life. Thank you, Chuck Lorre.
Yes.
Thank you, CBS. Thank you, writers of the show. Thank you, the crew of the show. And thank you, my wonderful cast. I'm working with iconic people. And it's like Jane Seymour said, it's like a master class. Every episode, we go in and we sit there and we learn from one another. They're helping me because I've never done sitcom on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I'm having a wonderful time.
Well, you are doing wonderful because you play Peter, a retired professor struggling to cope with early dementia while living in an assisted living facility. What do you hope people take away from Peter's journey?
You know, you as young people are on the same train.
Oh, thank you for calling me young.
You are, baby. You're a puppy. Enjoy it.
I will.
Enjoy it, because it's over real fast, believe me.
Yeah.
You turn around one day and you go, where did it go?
Yeah.
So do not forget that this facility is here for you, and you can make it fun.
Yeah.
You don't be afraid of aging. Aging is embracing wisdom.
Right?
And that's the thing I hope they take away from it.
Love that.
Is the wisdom and the joy and the fun
Well,
that you can have.
We have a clip of Be Positive. Let's check it out.
Wow. Somebody put the iffy in spiffy.
I was worried that an ascot and a pocket square would be too much. But you got to give the people what they want.
Where you off to?
My sister Lisa is taking me to dinner.
Lisa?
Yes.
I thought she passed away a few years ago.
Oh, yeah. I meant my friend Lisa. I call her sister. It's a black thing. You wouldn't get it.
Wow.
You are so good.
So good. Now, before
It
we
is
let you
such
go,
fun.
Mr. Vereen, you recently recorded a song that benefits an important cause. Please tell us about it.
Yes, it's called "Sing for Ukraine," and it's a song to help raise funds for the orphans and the children that are displaced during this terrible, terrible insurrection of a country. It's sad that this is happening, and I can't just sit back and do nothing. So we're trying to gather up, got a few people from Broadway, and Ira Tillis wrote this beautiful song, and the Broadway community came out, and we're doing this song and putting it out there and hoping to raise funds to help the people of Ukraine. You know, and then I want people to pray for Putin. You know, I say pray for Putin because of the fact that, you know, we're throwing a lot of hate his way, that, you know, and like Paul, you know, he will have, and he needs a God to have an intervention on his life. So that's what I'm praying for.
Wow.
That he sees what he's doing and turns his life around and save these lives. People are dying senselessly. And it breaks my heart. So we did this song, and it's called "Sing for Ukraine," and you'll be hearing it very soon.
Great.
And
We
to raise
can't
money
wait,
for
and
the
it's a
orphans
great
of
cause.
Ukraine.
Thank you so much. Ben, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with us. It was really, really a pleasure.
Yes, it
a
was
pleasure
an
to
honor.
have you. Be sure to catch Be Positive Thursdays, 9:30, 8:30 Central on CBS. You don't want to miss it. It's a great show.